Hey, e-commerce Fastlane listeners, the holiday season is just around the corner, and now is the perfect time to level up your inventory planning. Now, you can join our 7-day inventory planning bootcamp and learn how to keep your stock optimized, your costs down, and your profits soaring, all just in 1 week. Now, each day you'll receive a quick, actionable email packed with expert tips and strategies to help you avoid stockouts, reduce excess inventory, and drive more sales. Now, it's designed to be simple and efficient. Now, each lesson takes less time than it is to finish your morning coffee. Now, during the bootcamp, you're going to gain valuable insights on assessing and analyzing your inventory performance, intelligent demand forecasting, strategies to reduce your excess stock, ordering inventory on a budget, evaluating technology solutions to inventory planning and management, and implementing a continuous improvement mindset. Now, are you ready to ensure that your store is stocked and prepared for the holidays? This bootcamp will equip you with the essential skills to set appropriate stock levels, to improve demand forecasting, and optimize your inventory management practices. You'll learn how to prevent cash from being tied up in excess stock while avoiding costly stockouts that can frustrate customers and impact your bottom line. Now, don't let the holiday rush catch you off guard. Take control of your inventory and set yourself up for success for a smooth and more profitable season. Now, this bootcamp is perfect for e-commerce entrepreneurs, especially those that are powered by Shopify who want to maximize their holiday sales potential while minimizing their inventory-related headaches. Now, you can sign up now at ecommercefastlane.com/inventory-planning, and you can start your journey to smarter inventory management today. Now, don't miss this opportunity to transform your inventory planning before the holiday rush.
You're listening to E-commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company, powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder, and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
So one nice thing about his solution really is it's really transforming about how brands really can connect with consumers. It has a very unique kind of gifting platform, and really they're helping brands to discover new customers really at a very crucial point in the customer journey. It's usually kind of an incredible kind of post-purchase experience. It's very unique. I think it's very disruptive, and it kind of gets away from the traditional advertising models I just mentioned, where it seems that Google and Meta are the ones that really win. And a lot of times you always hear the horror stories, these post-mortems kind of after BFCM or after Q4. Even in Shopify, I've heard some stories that brands I used to manage that, hey, our sales were incredible, but the problem was the acquisition costs were so high that, we were negative profit, and now we have to really hustle for the retention side of it. Well, how do we get the second and third sale? This is where it gets really, really challenging. I think that's the difference of kind of what Nift offers, is that their prices don't go up, and they will help you generate net new customers. So, hi, Elery. Welcome to E-commerce Fastlane.
Hi. Great to be here.
So let's kick things off a bit here. So can you share the inspiration behind your company, kind of Nift Networks, and let's talk a little bit about the unique value that your gifting platform really brings to the Shopify ecosystem.
Yeah, so my previous company, previous startup that worked with marketing organizations of Fortune 500 companies, and I got an intimate and bird's eye view of how advertising and marketing works. And what kind of I found out is if you're trying to get in front of people who are currently interested but not in the market, your options are very limited, and you basically have access to platforms like Meta who prioritize content delivery. The only thing that Meta cares about in terms of optimizing to the max is content delivery. And then as an advertiser, you find yourself, first of all, completely out of control of what's going on. And then secondly, and this has become even worse now with TikTok, you're becoming a content factory feeding the content machine. And then from the consumer side, they're there to consume content. They're not there to discover new brands. And so that creates a very misaligned mechanism. And if you ask consumers, do you want me to turn off all the ads in your life? They're going to say yes.
Of course. Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, if you ask the same consumers, can you name 3 brands that you didn't know about, found out about, and then became a great customer of and changed your life? And almost all of us would be able to name a few of them. And so something's broken here. Something is broken. How do we get to a point where we can put our product in front of consumers who are not in the market right now for those products, or don't even know they exist and they're an option, and get them to try them out without having to go through this monster that is completely out of the brand's control, and at the same time delight the consumer instead of interrupting their content consumption. And that's how Nift was created. And that's the problem we're solving.
Yeah, totally in alignment with that. I think that's the thing right now, and that's why I want to have you on now. This pre-BFCM time, there's with all these hungry buyers that are out there, and just brands are looking at it and trying to figure out, yes, they have to be, unfortunately in that engine a little bit, and they have to play in it. But also, I think they're willing to open up to, well, what other options are available to them? And I think a lot of people don't realize that Nift is even available and how you're doing it at scale right now. So can you talk a little bit about your direct connection to Shopify? Kind of walk us through what happens, because I think that's the key to this whole thing. Is like, people are pretty easy there listening to the show saying, hey, I'm willing to try something new, but can you spend 5 minutes and walk us through right now live about, well, what happens when I go to the Shopify App Store and get the Nift app and install it on my store? What's the processes that are happening? Like, it's connecting, and then what is it doing next? And then how quickly can we activate a campaign?
It is very, very quick. And the reason it's very quick is because you don't really have to generate a lot of content for it. And people can try Nift out without involving their creative departments at all. But there's a couple of important things here. The first one is how the mechanism works. We've developed a closed ecosystem of premium consumer apps who give Nift gifts as thank yous to their customers when that customer takes a positive action, like leaving a review or completing a purchase or upgrading. And what happens is the consumer gets this Nift gift, they get $30 to spend, and that $30 is fully funded by the advertiser. Sometimes it's $30, sometimes it's $10, sometimes it's $20, sometimes it's even $100. They're fully funded by the advertiser. But what you get is a consumer that has 100% of their attention on your brand and is there to discover something new. So you leave a review at TripAdvisor, you get a Nift card. And then you go through an experience that matches you with 2 and only 2 brands to look at. You evaluate those brands, you go to their website, you do some research on them, and then you pick the one you want. And then that consumer then gets transferred to the DTC or e-commerce brand's site to convert. The reason we're integrated with Shopify is for several reasons. The first one is we want to not show your brand to somebody who's already a customer. So we are integrated into everybody who has ever bought from your store. And then we do not show your brands to them. We only show your brand to people who have never bought from you before. So these are 100% net new customers. The second part is we also actually start looking into what your purchase behavior, not just for the first purchase, but second, third, fourth purchase on your site, and try to match customers that have a high lifetime value to your brand. And you could price your bidding based on lifetime value, and that's coming in this quarter. And that is how we use the Shopify integration.
Okay, so just so I'm clear now. So these consumer apps that are out there, and then you said there's a different path or a different action that's taken, and because you've taken that action on these other consumer apps that are out into the wild, then because of your relationship with these consumer apps, you're then allowing potentially a Shopify merchant to choose what sort of gift that they want to offer to one of these consumer apps. Right. Is that completely clear?
That is exactly right. There's an added step where we match the consumer to the brand. We only show 2 gifts to every consumer. It could be non-competing gifts. So it could be one gift could be eyeglasses, could be sunglasses, could be sweatshirts or t-shirts or new makeup or anything out of a number of things. And the other thing could be like a wine subscription. And the consumer gets to choose only one of them. They actually have to choose which categories they're generally interested in. And then we show them that brand.
And then, okay, so what about existing pieces of technology? So clearly you can attach to Shopify and understand what you're doing to, not show ads if they're an existing customer, and I guess using some kind of an AI to kind of hypothesize what you believe kind of the next potential second or third purchase could be, and then being very intentional on the offer. Okay, but I see that on top of Shopify, you're also connected to Klaviyo and other pieces of personalization engines that are out there. And so can you talk a bit about like the intentionality around, first of all, we know you connect to Shopify, but any other piece of technology, what do you connect to? And then how is your platform kind of utilizing that technology?
Yeah, so we ran a survey we had commissioned a third-party survey that's available on our site that was responded to by 150 D2C retail executives across the US. And we asked them what are your main interest point? And what we found is in terms of channels, what we found is, interestingly enough, that on average, D2C and retail marketers advertise on 8.5 channels. And the more channels they seem to have, the more they're able to hit their ROAS goals or CPA goals or whatever the goals they might have. And the other thing that we found is 89% of marketers really want to escape the walled gardens of Amazon and Meta and use first-party data. And what we do, you asked about integration of Klaviyo, as soon as a consumer picks, Blender sunglasses as a gift, we ask that consumer, do you want to be contacted by Blenders about your gift? And 9 out of 10 of them say, yeah, I want to be contacted by Blenders. And then we feed that directly into Blenders. I don't know if Blender specifically has Klaviyo, but whoever has Klaviyo, we feed that data directly into Klaviyo to be able to contact that consumer about their gift and start sharing the value of the brand and the story of the brand with that consumer. And it really escaped that walled gardens data garden.
I see that you work obviously with a lot of like really large brands very clearly.
Yep.
But what's the kind of the sweet spot of the kind of the ideal Shopify merchant that you like to work with? So
I think Nift works the best with categories where you can make a purchase decision even if you're not in the market for something. Some of the things that you buy you have to be in the market to buy. You're not going to buy a car just because you went by a dealership. Hey, this is a nice looking car. I'm going to get it. You're not going to get a washing machine just because you on a whim. But anything that you're interested in and you might buy, but you're not in the market right now, getting that conversion is going to work on Nift. So apparel, beauty, personal care, home goods, home decor, digital services like streaming, consumer apps, subscription services of all types, pet, food supplies, health and wellness, food services, meal kits, and beverages all work well on Nift. And the other thing that I would recommend for, if we talk a lot to up and coming brands, emerging brands, and what we tell them is first, you really need to maximize your presence on people who are in the market, which is where you go to Google for. And after you maxed out that, you maxed out your branded keywords, you maxed out your category keywords, and you really are tapped out, and you're trying to reach out to customers who are not in the market for your specific category or product, and you want to capture and create demand, then that's where you go to other platforms like Meta. And our advice is always get really proficient with Meta first, because you want to know what your CPAs are, what your ROAS goals are, right? So for apparel, for example, we see that people, for first-time customers, really need to get 2 or 3x ROAS. And for some brands, they really are okay with giving the first just having a 1 ROAS on and getting everything done then. And then once they kind of got their sea legs under them with demand generation, then they can go to Nift. If they got to a point where they're already spending about $1 million a year with Meta, this is a good time to evaluate Nift.
That's good. Just nice to know, because sometimes it's perfect timing for some brands, and others, maybe they're just not quite there yet. Yep. But there are some, and that's what the show's all about. There are some opportunities available for all brands to drive net new. So if you're already at the sweet spot of spending, more than $1 million a year, you're spending $100,000 a month on paid ads. There's some opportunity to significantly improve your ROAS by using the Nift platform, and so that's really cool. You brought up the blenders eyewear. Ironically enough, I actually looked at the case study before recording. And so I don't know if you can bring this one. I guess you can publicly because it is available, but it's quite an impressive case study. Can you kind of walk, because they are kind of on Shopify, can you kind of walk us through how Nift really helped them? And I understand there's, based on this case study, it's like, there was some seasonal challenges. And then I would like to understand a little more about what exactly you did and kind of what the outcome was.
This is exactly a good case of people are interested but not in the market. So this is a Gen Z style-focused sunglasses. Not a lot of people are in the market for sunglasses during winter.
It's true.
Right.
Yeah.
And by partnering with Nift, they got a 545% increase in customer growth in Q4, which is off-season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
their customer acquisition moved from 1,200 per quarter during our pilot phase to 5,600 per quarter on a scale base, while maintaining consistent ROAS. So the interesting part is, you should think about it, the way we work is we need to fill up categories. And once we have 2 or 3 sunglass brands, we kind of move on. And the flip side on that is ROAS doesn't increase or fluctuate over time like it does with other platforms. CPA doesn't spike during Q4. It doesn't spike during an election season. You're not competing with everybody. What we also tell brands, most of the time, it's better off to give the value to the consumer than to increase their CPA. So the way brands, if we roll back a little bit, so the way brands think about us, if let's say they spend $40 to every net new customer on Meta, they should think about giving most of that value to the consumer on Nift to get the consumer to try them out, and some of that value to us in terms of a CPC. And altogether, the price is going to be lower than what they pay on Meta. So that's typically how they think about it. And blenders and a lot of other brands are doing very well. They moved 10, not blenders specifically, but brands moved 10, 20, 30, sometimes 80% of their Meta budget to us.
So it's just kind of like do some reallocations of thinking, the acquisition team is, budgeted X number of dollars to drive net new. And so you're saying allocate a little bit over here. And then overall, the ROI is going to be significantly higher. Right. Or if anything, it's like, well, I think the blenders case study is very interesting, being able to drive some, sales and awareness to traditionally in the winter months, not the biggest sunglass time for sales, right? It's usually spring and summer, right? So
right, exactly. Exactly.
And another topic that I find interesting too is, and you brought up a little bit about the first party data, but just data privacy in general. I know it's a massively growing concern and stuff like that. And so I'm curious about how Nift approaches this kind of first party data collection and usage, because clearly you're connected to Shopify. So you do have the customer record and kind of the details, but then you also have these large consumer apps that are, whatever the actions happen over there, the gift is being offered because that's what the merchant wants. But I'm just curious about the storage and the usage of all of this, and then just the mindset around it all.
Well, the way we typically think about it is be very open with the consumer on what's going on. And because the goal isn't to deliver content, is to find you as the consumer the best match gift that we can possibly give you, then it becomes fair to ask the consumer questions. So we always A/B test a bunch of questions to ask the consumer, like, what do they like to do on the weekend? And after that, we ask them specifically, which categories are you interested in? We are not trying to divine based on how many cat videos you watched, how much you're going to be interested in golf equipment.
True.
We just ask the consumer. And there is a lot of data science going on to try to match you at least 6 categories you might be interested in. But from there on, it's about the consumer saying, this is what I'm interested in. And not try to backtrack it from all sorts of web behavior. And then the consumer will tell you if they're about to get a $30 gift to a new skincare brand, they'll tell you they're interested in skincare. And then from there, we take the data privacy pretty seriously. Our chief architect used to work for Fidelity. The number of approvals I have to click on, even me, to get access to our system is insane.
Right? Yeah.
We have all the certifications. We take data privacy very seriously.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it reminds me of my Shopify days too, because to get into, as a merchant success manager, I was, merchant facing. So I definitely had access to the admins of the brands that I was directly managing, but there were a lot of checks and balances about, okay, well, why are you going into this merchant's admin? Well, because I'm the MSM and I'm trying to prep for my monthly call with my merchant. And then knowing that that's logged, and then it's so interesting. So they're very, very, it makes sense though. This data is actually owned by the merchant, and but they just have a relationship with me, your success team member in the past. And that's kind of how we did it, just for the authorization side.
Yep. And then in our case, the data is owned by us and by the consumer. And the consumer has a direct relationship with us.
So I want to talk a little bit about, just your relationship kind of in the Shopify ecosystem. Do you see where you're currently at right now? And because I know it's really important, because we are in Q4 right now, and I think it's an ideal time. I know we have an offer at the end of the show that I want to talk about, because we kind of chatted about it. But where do you see the market progressing with your platform? Because it seems like there's some variables in here that are interesting about, if you think about, like the retention side of the business, or, because we can net new drive a new customer, like probably cheaper and faster and better than Meta and Google can using Nift. But then there's also this conversation about the retention side and how do we get that second and third sale. And I know you have some AI making good gifting decisions, but just want to hear it from you about, where do you see your platform evolving over the next 6 months to a year?
Well, a lot of merchants and retailers play on both sides of our network. They give Nifts to their customers.
Okay.
And when you give a Nift to your customers, the customer is going to come back to you more often than if you don't. And we have enough data on that from multiple A/B tests across many platforms. So giving a Nift card really helps you retain that customer. And it doesn't cost anything to give a Nift card.
Right.
Which is the crazy part.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to send your customer to a competitor. We make sure to not show the same category to, if you're a skincare brand, your customer is not going to see skincare. They're going to see wine. They're going to see food. They're going to see clothing. They're not going to see skincare.
I see. This is really interesting. So what do you think some of our next steps are, like for brands that are listening right now that are kind of in the sweet spot that, have product market fit, they have a budget because they're obviously are able to drive traffic, net new traffic from Meta and Google and TikTok doing their thing. If they fit into your sweet spot, what do you want the next steps to be today for brands to say, yeah, we want to acquire and we want to do the multi-channel thing? Because this is another channel marketing effort that's interesting to expose brands. So what do you suggest kind of the next steps are? And then if you want to share some details of that special offer.
Yeah, I do. So the first thing I would recommend, and this is not just me, this is most of the marketers we work with, is diversify. Whether it's a Nift or something else, you can't have your entire future on one channel. And I've seen so many business close down because for some reason, prices went up. They went upside down on their unit economics and the business didn't work anymore. It's just heartbreaking to see. So diversify. The second thing is people ask us whether should we wait before the holidays or not. In a lot of cases, the answer is wait. But in most cases, because the lift is so small, the answer is don't wait. The process is first talk to us. And you can go to our website and book a meeting with a solution consultant. And we'll tell you in advance if this is not going to work. We don't want to waste. We invest in every single brand that comes on our platform. We help with creative, and we really are invested in making it work at their unit economics. And so we are very motivated to tell people if it's going to work or not. We just don't try anything. This is another difference between us and others. You're not on your own. It's a managed service. So we'll tell you if it's going to work or not. And if it doesn't, we just save time for the DTC brand. We save time to ourselves. But if we think that it has a good shot of working, we'll lean in and we'll do all the creative and all the lift and put it on the platform. For people that want to give it a shot, we do have a just for your listeners, $1,000 in ad credits for anybody who signs up by the end of the year.
That's an amazing deal. I just love the fact that I love the managed service side of it. I also love just using the word strategic partner. Because that's really, it's everybody wins together. It's, the brand and you, and then obviously your partnerships with these consumer apps and stuff. So it's a win-win for everybody across the board. And you hit the nail on the head about the traffic diversification. Most people have put a lot of money into Meta and Google exclusively. Some Gen Z brands obviously are pushing hard in TikTok with with Shopify's connection now with the TikTok store and their shops and stuff. So it's an interesting opportunity out there that it can be affordable. And it's just a matter of speaking with your team to saying, hey, here's our business and here's where we're at. And, I'm sure there can be an NDA, but it's just like end of the day, here's our business, here's where we're at, here's some general numbers. And you say, okay, well, in this space, yeah, we believe we can help you and here's how. And then boom, I appreciate this $1,000 offer because that's much better than kicking tires. It's like, put your money where your mouth is. And I really do appreciate that.
Yep.
This is amazing. Well, I want to, thanks Elery for coming on this recording today. It's just like it's down and dirty and quick because I think this system that you've created clearly is working. There's a lot of other. I went to the website, like I said before recording. There's a lot of great case studies, more just outside of the blenders, like even Allbirds, the shoe brand, and there's a whole bunch of others that are Shopify powered businesses that are using your solution to help drive net new customers affordably. And I think you're not getting involved in that hamster wheel of Q4 of CPAs going up. I think it's really amazing.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Well, have yourself a great afternoon. Thanks for recording.
Thank you, Steve. It was great to be here.
All right, take care. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you personally for being a loyal listener of E-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.